Namaskar, welcome to Honest Astrologer, and today we go to the second episode of our Mahabharata series. And here is when the adventures start. Episode 1 was very simple. We just saw the difference between logical and rational decision making vis a vis emotional decision making, and we learned that emotional decision making led to certain disasters. And thank you so much for understanding that concept, and the kind of feedback I got was amazing. So today we come to the second chapter, and this is a very, very important chapter. There are, like they say in life, there are decades when nothing happens, and there are days when decades happen. So this is a chapter where a lot would happen, and the beauty of Mahabharata is whatever happens now, it might come back very later in the epic. Ramayana is simple. Whichever character is there, once they are gone, usually they are gone. Mahabharata is very complicated that ways. So we will be introduced to the character of Amba, which will come back in the Mahabharata war later in the series. So this tells you about the importance of open communication, about the importance of rationalism, and about being reasonable even when you are mighty. We ended our last episode with Shantanu getting married to Satyavati. With time, Shantanu was blessed with two children. One was Chitrangat, other was Vichitravirya. With time, Shantanu passed away. He was an old man already. And Chitrangad was killed in a battle with a Gandharva. Vichitravirya was the only one left, and he was young, and Bhishma was the de facto ruler. Once Vichitravirya came of age, he was put on the throne technically, while Bhishma was practically running everything. He was the master strategist and the greatest warrior of his time. There is another theory that Chitrangad was killed by a Gandharva. Why did Bhishma not take revenge of it? I do not know. There is no explanation. This is one of those unsolved mysteries of Mahabharata. My guess is that Satyavati wouldn't have allowed him because Gandharvas were not normal humans. And without a Bhishma to protect the kingdom, anybody could have invaded. Satyavati combined with a Vichitravirya couldn't have defended the kingdom. So that's my guess. So that is why I said this. I do not want people with very strong religious beliefs coming after me. This is more of an intellectual philosophical exercise. So coming back to Vichitravirya, he grew up, he was a young man. So Bhishma wanted to get good brides for him. And here we see Bhishma in his rough side, in his impractical and patriarchal side, which caused disaster. He does that not once but twice. Once he does to the princess of Kashi, and then he does it to Gandhari, and we all know the consequences. So I often joke Mahabharata has only two arranged marriages and both ended in a disaster. So Indians should be more conducive to love marriages. Anyways, coming back to this. The king of Kashi had three beautiful and well-versed princesses, Amba, Ambika and Ambalika. He had announced a Swamvar for these three. For some reason, he did not send an invitation to Hastinapur, the kingdom of Bhishma. And Bhishma was furious about this because he wanted those girls to be the wives of Vichitravirya. So, in sheer anger, he rode off to Kashi in his chariot. So, Bhishma had a reputation, a fearsome reputation. Nobody dared to stop him, and he went to the Swamvar, and there the princess started to laugh at him because he was too old at that time to get married. So they were like, look, these princesses are so beautiful that even Bhishma forgot his vow. So that angered Bhishma. He challenged everybody and defeated them en masse. And then he kidnapped those three princesses and tried to take them to Hastinapur. He was interrupted on his way by the king of Subala, I guess. His name was Salva. And he was in love with Amba, the eldest of the three. And for the sake of Amba, he tried to challenge Bhishma. And again, while it is an emotional lover's cause and we all can cheer and root for Salva, in reality, the man was no match for Bhishma. He would have done much better to ask for his permission and would have told him about the affair between Amba and himself. That would have ended in a much better way, but things happened differently. He went ahead and challenged and was very, very easily vanquished by Bhishma. And he was left wounded but alive. Then Bhishma brought all three to Hastinapur and told them to marry Vichitravirya. Ambika and Ambalika agreed. Amba was furious, and rightfully so. She said, I have accepted Salva as my husband in my heart and soul and mind. I am not going to marry your brother. That is when Bhishma realized the disaster that he had created and the complicated situation that had happened, and he had been accused of abducting a woman against her choice. So that is when he realized the mistake he made, and with all due respects and some escorts, he sent Amba to meet Salva. But by then, a lot of damage had been done. Salva refused to take Amba. He said, look, Bhishma defeated me in broad daylight in front of everyone. I am a vanquished man. I cannot accept you as my wife. Amba now was in a disarray. She went back to Bhishma. Bhishma asked Vichitravirya to marry him, but he simply refused. He said, look, she has accepted another man in her heart. I cannot take her to be my wife. And this is what we Indians need to learn. Right? The kind of disasters that happen most of the time, they happen in arranged marriages. I'm not saying that love marriage is perfect, but the probability of such disasters happening is less. Anyways, then Amba was upset and she said finally to Bhishma that you are the cause of my plight. Now you have to make me your wife and honor me. Bhishma said, look, I understand your plight, but I am under oath never to get married. Amba felt pained and insulted. She waited for a few days, again went to Salva. Again, she was discarded by him. She was refused by him. After that, Amba became this living lava of revenge. She had no desire to become anybody's wife. She had only desire for killing Bhishma. For this, she started worshipping. Now, the different versions of the epics give you different ideas. Some say she worshipped Shiva, some say she worshipped Lord Subramanya. But I'll stick to the original source, Mahabharata by Sri Rajgopalachari. So she worshipped Lord Subramanya or Lord Kartikeya as we call him in the north. And Lord Kartikeya gave him a garland and he said, whosoever will wear this garland will become the cause of death of Bhishma. Amba for 6 years looked for a champion, couldn't find anybody. Everybody was afraid of Bhishma. He was a matchless warrior with a lot of celestial weapons. In the end, she went to King Drupad, who again refused to honor her wish. She became so angry, she hung that garland at the gates of his palace, and she came out. Then she met some sages on her way, and they told her the only person who could defeat Bhishma was Lord Parshurama. She went to Parshurama and told about her entire plight, and Parshurama was moved by her story, and he said, I will take on Bhishma for your sake. And he challenged Bhishma, and there was a very fierce battle which ended in a draw. Even Parshurama could not vanquish Bhishma, and he admitted to Amba, sorry, I could not fulfill my promise to you. Coming to this, Amba finally lost it. She did very hard penance for Lord Shiva. And finally Lord Shiva appeared and she said, I want to kill Bhishma myself. And Lord Shiva said, in your next birth you will become the cause of death of Bhishma. and Lord Shiva disappeared. Amba became so angry and so anxious, she did not want to live further. Now, this is the extreme revenge saga. So, Amba gives me a very Scorpio vibe. Okay, she put up her own funeral pyre and jumped into it, burned herself to death, and she was reborn in the house of King Drupad as Shikhandi, who was a transvestite. We'll talk about that later. And one day, while she was little, she was moving around and she saw that never wilting garland of flowers, and she happily put it around her neck. And that is when she got her past life memories, and she realized that the only mission she had was to kill Bhishma. And ultimately, in the battle of Mahabharata, she becomes the cause of death of Bhishma. If somebody asks me who killed Bhishma, I don't say Arjun, I always say Shikhandi killed Bhishma. So we have to give the due credit to Amba and her spirit and her commitment to her vengeance. This is one tragic story which tells what happens when you do not communicate properly. And Bhishma is a tragic figure. The man knew how to wield a weapon, perhaps did not realize how to wield authority and how to communicate better. Just because you could bulldoze everything and everyone doesn't mean that you should. And he was one character who suffered immensely. Sitting on a sharshaya wasn't a fun, and he had a very, very painful end. So those who have power should be very cautious about it. So I will end this with a quotation from Yudhishthir, which he says in my favorite part of the epic, which is Virat Parva. He says, cruelty comes easily to the powerful. So if you are in a position of power, avoid cruelty. Become more of a Krishna when you have power, do not become a Bhishma. So with this, we come to the end of second episode. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Jai Shri Krishna.